Daily Broadside, day 713. You know, the Olympics, we just mentioned, just passed, which is good because I need another 4 years to not be thinking and hearing about them because they're dumb and insipid. But in light of the Olympics, somebody mentioned something, so I got to thinking about things. And I'm like, you know, some of those sports must be absolutely horrific to practice for 4 years. And that's all you do, you know? Like, yeah, there's some time in the gym or on the treadmill or whatever to keep your, athletic form where it should be. But imagine some of the things that you would have to practice for that long. Like the javelin, okay? It's a long, pointy stick. It's a toothpick, a big old toothpick that you just toss into a field. Could you imagine having to practice that for 4 years to get better at it? And the incremental ways that you would get better would not be something that would allow you to be like, oh, that was awesome. I just improved by 5 yards. You'd be like 2 decimeters. I mean, the incremental, like once you're like 23 and you're a javelinist, that's as hard as you're not going to get that much better, right? Like you're at your peak javelin form, tossing this big pointy toothpick into a field. I just can't imagine doing it. Shot put's the same thing. The biathlon, you put on some damn skis and you don't really even go that far downhill. You're pretty much just like, have you ever done cross country skiing? I have. You know why? Because it snowed one time and I owned my own set of skis and I skied to my buddy Teeter's house. And it was funny because his dad was like looking out the window. He's like, he's skiing up the road, but I skied to his house, right? And let me say this. If you were wondering, well, is his house downhill? It's not at all. It's a mix of everything. It's a little of this, a little of that, a little of that, a little of that. It's everything on the protractor, and it sucks, okay? Because when I left my house, it was like, oh, I'm whooshing down the road, what would be the main street. I lived on a fairly busy road. I'm whooshing down. I don't know why I'm saying whooshing, but that's what I'm doing. I'm whooshing. I'm wishing I was whooshing. I'm whooshing down the road and sloshing and whooshing. And anyway, I get there, and then you get to the first hill, and you're like, trying to, I don't know. And then I finally get there, and I'm like, could anybody give me a ride home? So we waited till a little later that afternoon when the road started to kind of clear a little bit because there was a bit of snow on the ground. And I got driven home because I was like, I don't want to do that again. We probably lived like 2.5 miles. But I get back to the biathlon. You cross-country ski for I don't know how many miles, and then you get there, and your heart rate's up or whatever, and you pull out this tiny little blink, blink, and you shoot these little tiny targets with like, they're not even 22s probably. They're like 11s. I mean, they're just like the tiniest little bullet. And I'm impressed. Those people can shoot. No, don't get me wrong. But I just couldn't imagine doing that. Like waking up every morning and be like, I got to ski across Arkansas and plank some targets and then do it again. It's just dumb. Curling. I need to even, and especially if you're like the broomer or something. Like you're the sweeping guy in the curling team. You're not even the guy that just kind of floats along with I don't even know what that guy does. He just pushes the stone, the rock, the ball, whatever the hell they call it, and he just kind of floats by. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I get that all these games came from like far away. Well, far away people were stupid, okay? Obviously, they didn't have electricity. They didn't have a PS4 or whatever PS we're up to. They didn't have any of that crap, They didn't have automotives they could work on. They didn't have anything that they could do to occupy their time. So they're out there on the ice, throwing stones around, seeing how far they can get one to sweep across the ice. It's just dumb. It's absolutely dumb. Imagine doing like diving, right? You lose the exhilaration of diving into a pool that's whatever meters high. After the first few. And I've jumped off some pretty high cliffs in my day in Hawaii, and it's pretty cool the first time you do it from 60, 70 feet up. It takes your breath away. But then after a while, you're like, this is dumb. But there's diving people, man. The dive lasts like 0.3 seconds. I mean, you're in. Things fall at 9.8 meters per second squared. Miss Newton taught me that in physics. It's funny that her name was Newton, and she taught physics. Anyway, so, you're not going to enjoy a lot of the time going down, but you are going to have to climb 700 steps and then wipe yourself off with that little washcloth before you jump into the water, which I've had that explained to me, and I still think it's dumb. Sounds like a scam. The pole vault. I know a guy who pole vaults or pole vaulted in college, and that's a strange. I don't even know how you get into that. Like, how do you even? Like, I could see why Wilt Chamberlain did it because he was 7'1". You know, he's thinking to himself, I could do that. I could do the high jump or the pole. I think he did the high jump, not the pole vault. But it's just the high jump, right? You don't even have a pole. You just run and jump over a bar. I don't know why you would want to do that. And how do you practice for that? You do a bunch of calf raises and squats. I mean, you're only going to get genetics are only going to let you jump so high, you know, unless you're Wilt Chamberlain, and then your genetic limit is at the sky. But if you're just a normal person and you're pole vaulting, first of all, I guess the pole like comes apart like a pool cue because otherwise you got to haul like a 24-foot trailer around just to get to practice. You know, they probably keep the poles at the place. I'm just saying, like, it would just be horrible to do. At least like basketball or volleyball, you can scrimmage. You know, you can work on your free throws, you can work on your 3-point shooting, you can work on some box moves, whatever. Backing people down with the pads and all that stuff. But ultimately, you could just scrimmage, and you know that was awesome. When I played travel soccer, we hated. Or at least I can only speak for myself. I hated soccer practice unless we were going to scrimmage. Love to scrimmage. I could scrimmage all day. Don't even know what that word means. Probably has something to do with England and scrum or something like that. It's probably where the etymology of that comes from. But at any rate, I couldn't imagine for 4 years all you do is like, you wake up in the morning and you're like, well, I got to go hop over a pole with a pole. You know, it's just, that's a rough life. So I commend those people for having, and that's probably why they're all crying and all crazy, filled with emotions, because they're just like standing on that podium, you know, with their hands behind their back, and they're just like, you leave the stays here. I've been jumping over a pole for you, you know, and I get it, and that must be an emotional release, but y'all are still crazy for thinking that that's what y'all should be doing with your time. So I end this with this: find an Olympic sport that scrimmages. And if you can find a javelinist that scrimmages, that's going to be a bloody hell sport. That's going to be pretty cool, actually. So you start, like, scrimmaging from, like, a circle and everybody's throwing it into each other. It's kind of like Hungry Hippos meets, you're going to get caught in the crossfire. If you're from the 80s, you know what I'm talking about. Get it.